Yo, what's up guys? In this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about TRT, aka testosterone replacement therapy, and whether or not it is worth it for you to start doing if you are considering it. And that's basically, it's just going to be basically based on my own personal assessment as an experienced biohacker. I'm happy to call myself an experienced biohacker who has tested all kinds of substances, and I'm going to basically tell you how TRT stacks up against some of the other things that I've taken and whether or not I think it's a good thing to add into your own personal stack, let's call it. Okay, so first of all, going to echo Greg Doucette here a little bit. I'm not a doctor. This is not medical advice. Go see a doctor, go talk to a doctor. Don't even do any of this stuff ever. It's not a good idea. Nobody should ever do it. This is all for entertainment, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that said, 6 weeks ago, I started doing TRT, and this is not doctor administered, okay? This is just me straight being a cowboy and like playing with different dosages and all the like ancillary drugs that go with it. Because like I said, I am pretty experienced when it comes to trying new substances and determining how they affect my body. So I don't really think I need a doctor. I don't want to pay for a doctor to like look at some numbers on a piece of paper and tell me, oh, actually we need to do this, we need to do that. I think it's much better to just go, obviously research a little bit, but to go based on how you feel. If you are in tune with your body and you're in touch with how certain things affect you based on certain conditions. I've been playing with supplements for fucking 20 years. I've been like, I keep track of this shit, so do I need a doctor? I don't think so. At least not at this stage. So anyway, number one, TRT. Let's talk about how it affected my strength and overall like endurance over the course of a day. So first of all, strength went up 100%. Oh, I guess actually before we get into that, I should tell you how I did TRT and how much I'm taking. So I am taking 85 milligrams a week, which is a baby dose. That is like, I've never even heard of anybody on YouTube take that little, right? The lowest I've heard is 100. Greg Doucette mentioned once that he was going to take 70. He was going to switch down to 70, but he doesn't seem to be doing that. I think he's still at 140. And 85, like I take 85 a week. I take 12.5 a day, right? So over 7 days, I'm pretty sure that's 85, right? Anyway, I take 85. The first week that I did it, I did 350 for the week because I wanted to front load it and get it in my system faster. The week after that, I did 175. And for the past month, I've dropped it down to 85. So for the first few weeks, when I was kind of dialing it in, I felt a little bit more emotional than normal and a little bit moodier than normal. And again, all of this could be placebo, but like, how much is placebo and how much is actually it affecting your body? Because you are injecting a substance into your body that is going to do something to you. It's not like you inject something and a week later something happens. No, you're going to feel effects right away. They do build up over time, but the point is that the first couple of weeks I was feeling a little bit emotional, and I was not taking an aromatase inhibitor in the beginning because I was watching all these YouTube tutorials and everybody was saying like, oh, you don't need an AI, you don't need an aromatase inhibitor, you don't need one, you don't need any anti-estrogen, just like try TRT by itself, and then if you need one, take a blood test, and maybe if your doctor says, then you can add one in. So I was like, all right, let's try that, because estrogen does do a lot of good stuff for your body. So I was like, okay, I'll try it with no estrogen. So anyway, I was getting really moody the first couple of weeks, and like I have a sales job, so it's not a good thing to be imbalanced emotionally when you have a sales job, because you're going to hear no a lot, you're going to get rejected a lot, and you need to like remain calm so that you can continue to attack the job with the proper amount of enthusiasm. So anyway, long story short, I started taking arimistane, which is a suicidal aromatase inhibitor, meaning that it binds to the estrogen receptors, and then your body, like the estrogen that's in your body cannot bind to those receptors, and it just gets flushed out of your system, something like that. And I noticed an improvement immediately when I started taking that. Like I remember one day in particular, I was very emotional, very like pissed off because of work. And I was like thinking, I was like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Like, what's going on? Like, why am I acting like this? I never get, I've had bad days before, but I never get this emotional. So anyway, I went home and I was like, you know what, maybe it's the estrogen. So I took an arimistane, 50 milligrams, and within 20 minutes, I was fine. I was like normal. So, bro science, maybe, but like, cause and effect, it's going to line up eventually. So I don't know. I'm pretty happy with it. And now what I'm doing is I'm taking an arimistane every 3 days, every 2 or 3 days, or as needed. Sometimes I try to go a little bit longer, but the moodiness eventually creeps up on me. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I need to take an arimistane. Okay. So then I stabilize at 85 a week. And this is I could probably take a little bit more, to be honest with you. But I'm definitely feeling pretty good from 85 milligrams a week. And for now, like, I'm okay here. So let's get into the first impressions. I guess it's pretty obvious that I like it, but let's go into it anyway. So number one, strength. Strength is up for sure. During this time, I changed my workout routine because I am working 8 hours a day now. So what I started doing bodybuilding again, and I'm doing super slow compound sets, right? So like, I'll make another video about that, but basically what it is it's bodybuilding, except you don't rest in between the sets, and you don't rest in between you just don't rest in between the sets at all, period. So like you get to the gym, you pick 4 exercises, and you do the reps super slow, right? So you go up for 5 seconds, hold it for 5 seconds, down for 5 seconds. Anyway, whatever, I changed my workout routine and I experienced a lot of gains from that as well. So like, is it that or is it the TRT? I think it's both, because it's just much easier for me to do stuff in the gym. And I also started working out twice a day, right? So I'll go in the morning before work, and then maybe, 3 days a week, I'll go twice a day, right? Either I do cardio or I'll do another weight training session. I also noticed I did yoga for about a week. I started going to a yoga studio and I did some 75-minute like advanced classes online. And I noticed that and I haven't done yoga in forever. Like my yoga muscles are not as strong as they have or used to be back when I was doing it every day. But that said, there were a lot of poses that I managed to hold for a very long period of time with an increased level of intensity in the contraction. Because what yoga is basically is you hold a pose and you're supposed to flex into that pose, sink as deep into the pose as possible until the instructor tells you to change poses, right? That's one of the things about yoga. And I was able to make progress incredibly quickly in a week, and I was able to hold the poses longer. And I was kind of surprised. I was like, oh, this is kind of weird that I'm able to hold it for so long. It felt like I was working, but I was just able to hold it for much longer than I thought, which obviously when you can have a more effective workout, you're going to make progress much quicker. Okay, the second thing is libido. Honestly, have not experienced much of a difference in libido. When the dose was a little bit higher, the libido was up a little bit. I also started doing, anyway, all right, I guess just too late already. I'm not gonna edit this fucking video. I started doing NoFap again, right? So I don't want to get into all of my personal habits, but basically, I think the combination of those two things, plus working in the mall in Vegas, which is a very I call it a very slutty city, right? Because you should see how these girls walk around the mall, man. These girls walk around and there's how sometimes you have holes in your jeans? So they have sometimes a hole in the ass of the jean, and her whole ass is just sticky. It's hanging out. The way some of these girls dress, man, it's insane. Girls just come here to just act like sluts, basically. I'm not complaining. I love it. It's amazing. But when you combine that with fucking increased testosterone and your NoFap stuff going on, it just makes it it's just hard to concentrate. Normally before I would be able to, let's say I'm whatever, you see a hot girl, I would be able to not stare. I would be conscious of it and not look, or maybe just glance and then look away. But now I find myself looking, and then I'll look for a couple seconds and I'm like, oh fuck, I need to look away. It's just a little bit more pronounced, I guess. Also, actually, another thing that I thought of, I started doing photo shoots, right? And I'm doing them with models, or with girls who are modeling basically, and all this other stuff too. But a lot of the, how girls pose for photos, it's all sexual and provocative, right? So when I'm doing these photo shoots, it's anyway, I don't want to sound like a perv, but it's very engaging, let's just say. I noticed maybe an increase in the libido. Just put it that way. Let's leave it at that. Next one. Blood pressure. Okay, so this is one of the negatives that I experienced from TRT. I would say around week 2 or 3, my blood pressure started to get noticeably high. And I don't check my fucking blood pressure ever, really. But I was just sitting somewhere, I don't know, fucking sitting down and like looking at my phone, and my heart was thumping so powerfully that it was like shaking my body. And every pulse of my heartbeat would like move me so that the phone was moving in my hands. I don't know if that's ever happened to you guys. It's happened to me sometimes, but I was just like sitting there and doing nothing. It's not like I had just finished fucking running a mile or working out or something. I was just sitting there. And so I noticed that it started to get worse. And the thing with TRT is that your red blood cell count goes up. So they say that you need to give blood like every 2 months, and I haven't given blood yet. But anyway, the point is that like, I noticed my blood pressure was getting too high. And, it was even to the point where I would be lying in bed at night sometimes, and my heart would be beating so powerfully that I was not able to sleep. And that's kind of when I got a little scared. I was like, okay, like maybe I shouldn't do this. Maybe this is bad. Maybe it's not worth it. But then I figured out, I was like, okay, well, what can I do to lower my blood pressure? And I just started eating a raw clove of garlic every day, or even like a half a clove. And that fixed it right away. Like went right back to normal, no high blood pressure, no like heart pounding in my chest. Raw garlic is good to eat anyway, highly recommend it. And so that kind of like took care of that problem. Also, one other thing is that when in men, I read a study once that in men, if you have elevated estrogen levels, it will also increase your blood pressure. So taking the arimistane did also reduce it a little bit, because when I had the moodiness, I was also having like crazy heartbeats. So definitely don't recommend that. Like, do what you can to keep your blood pressure under control, because that is something you do not want to mess around with. In my experience, a clove of raw garlic a day is enough to control, at least at the dose that I'm taking. And that's pretty much it. Okay, so next one is moodiness or mood, right? And I kind of touched on this earlier, but let's talk about the moodiness, right? So the whole like roid rage thing, I think that is way overblown for testosterone, at least. Some other compounds, from what I've heard, will make you like more aggressive, like halo test, I think it's called, or check drops or something like that. Anyway, don't worry about that if you're not interested. But anyway, the point is that with test, I think the main danger that you run into with roid rage or moodiness is when it's actually from estrogen, not from testosterone. Because, and honestly, like now I actually understand why women are so fucking insane, because they have so much estrogen, and that shit fucks with your head so much that if you don't control it, you just like everything feels like it's a disaster. Like it's so dramatic. Like, oh my God, this, this one thing happened. Oh, that must mean that like all these other things, and you just like build these fucking scenarios in your head, and it's just like, why? It's not, you're unable to be chill, I guess is the best way to put it. So once you control for the like aromatization, I think you should be okay. And I think a small dose of an AI every couple of days should be enough for most people. I also, and I guess did I put this one on here? No, I didn't. So also body composition. I have lost a little bit of fat from doing TRT. I also cleaned up my diet. So like, is it this or is it that? I don't know. But they say that the more fat you have, more like visceral fat you have on your body, the more you're going to aromatize. So if you reduce the fat, you reduce the aromatization, and you reduce the estrogen of, that's going on in your body. So that's the moodiness part, right? Now the mood, I will say that my mood is much, much, much better. Now I am also taking a ton of other shit for my mood, but with the addition of TRT, I've noticed that it's like, I don't know, is it on another level? I'm not really sure at this point. I'm taking so much shit, but I definitely feel more comfortable in most situations. I'm not saying I never experience a negative emotion, or I never get upset, or I never like experience discomfort, but generally in situations where I would consider them, let's call them high stress, and I'm good in a crisis anyway. I'm good in fucking high stress situations. Like I've got plenty of experience with high stress situations, but this just makes it so they don't even become high stress situations. Like for example, the two things that I can think of off the top of my head, number one is talking to extremely attractive girls, right? Because in my job, I sell to women basically, right? And at the mall, you have a range of attractiveness, let's say. So I notice now that if I'm talking to a girl who's what I would consider to be like extremely attractive, like the type of attractive that you see once a week, maybe in a mall, right? Or if you don't work in the mall, once every couple months. I'm just not, I'm much more comfortable around them, much more comfortable around groups of girls. I was always, not like I was bad, but I'm just like, there's a difference between like being able to handle the situation because you know what to say, and like being able to handle the situation because you're just comfortable in that situation, if that makes sense. So that's number one. Number two is what I would call like potential physical altercations with other men, basically. Just much more comfortable with that. And I'm not an asshole. I don't look for fights. I don't try to get into fights with people. But I've noticed in the past couple of weeks that if I am in a situation where there might be a potential confrontation, I'm just not that I'm like violent or aggressive towards it. I'm just not worried, I guess. Like there's no like adrenaline pump, like, oh my God, something might happen. You're just kind of like ready. You're just ready to go, I guess. It doesn't even have to be like physical, right? Just like the implied physical altercation means, or might mean, that you need to like say something to diffuse the situation. And that saying something might be something other than like backing down, if that makes sense, right? Basically, you just are more, you're just more comfortable, I guess, in every situation, right? More comfortable asking for what you want, more comfortable like saying things that are a little bit riskier, whether you're giving somebody a compliment or whether you're just like joking around with somebody, or I don't really know actually how to explain it. I should probably think about this more, but overall mood has improved is the point. Overall, much more comfortable in everyday situations, much more comfortable in high pressure situations, and the threshold for high pressure situations has gone up considerably as well. And then I guess the last one is well, I got kind of talked about this aggression, maybe a little bit more aggressive, but this kind of ties into everything else that I mentioned, like libido and just, what was the other one? Mood. Not particularly more aggressive, I would say, because I'm a pretty chill dude, but maybe aggressive like where I would need to be, if that makes sense. Anyway, last one, body composition. Have lost a little bit of fat from doing TRT. Is that from me working out harder, me working out twice a day, me cleaning up my diet, me like, doing all this other stuff? Or is it specifically from the testosterone fucking circulating in my body? I'm not really sure. Okay, so those are pretty much all the areas that I can think of off the top of my head that I've measured and paid attention to in this little experiment. Overall, highly recommend testosterone replacement therapy, right? Like I was on the fence about it. If you guys have seen any of my other videos, you know that I was like, ooh, I don't know. Is it good? Is it bad? I'm prepared to say 100% it is good, as long as you are careful to control for aromatization. In other words, you keep your estrogen under control and you keep your blood pressure under control. And these are things that you cannot rely on a doctor to do for you. You need to monitor them on your own. Very important that you monitor them on your own, especially if you are not a self-aware individual or advanced biohacker or somebody that has experience with how different substances affect you, because it's very important that you control for those two things, because those two things will fuck you up really bad if you don't pay attention to it. So I highly recommend it. I do think that there is some benefit. Like, I'm 36. I think this is a good, I probably could have started doing this when I was younger, to be honest with you. But I think this is a good age to start. So anybody who's over 36, who's around that age, and you're thinking about doing it, you have my official recommendation for this. Again, like I said, as long as you control for estrogen and as long as you manage your blood pressure. Estrogen is easy. Take an aromatase inhibitor every couple days. And what was the other one? The blood pressure is easy. Just eat a clove of raw garlic every day. It's like 10 seconds of suffering, and then you can rest easy knowing that the garlic is doing its magic on you. Okay, so if you guys have any questions about TRT or my experience with TRT, leave me a comment. Let me know if you want to see any other videos that have something else to do with TRT or something else to do with anything in general. Let me know. Leave me a comment. I got a new phone. I didn't make videos since my last update where I said I would make videos because my phone shattered into a million pieces. Not into a million pieces. Anyway, it was broken. I couldn't make videos. Now I have a new phone and now I can. So let me know. Leave me a comment. Peace.